In this compilation, we will look at some of the craziest floods in history. A wild torrent in Italy sweeping dozens of cars off the streets, a mountain river in the Himalayas breaking a dam, and a catastrophe in coastal Turkey that left an entire town underwater. Frankfurt in Germany, the fifth most populous city and one of the largest global business centers. Naturally, Frankfurt has a strong flow of money. However, in August 2023, there was simply a lot of water. Heavy rains in southern Germany led to the flooding of hundreds of basements and streets. But besides ground floors, the murky water also flooded metro stations, and Frankfurt International Airport became quite scary. Dozens of flights were canceled after the airfield was flooded, and many passengers found themselves in a difficult situation. This was not the first time that flooding had penetrated the subway. Here we see how subway train cars turned into aquariums in July 2021. In this case, the cost of the damage amounted to €1.5 billion. On August 7, 2023, residents of southern and eastern Norway received a frightening notification. The Norwegian Meteorological Institute issued a red warning of danger due to the approaching storm, Hans. Exceptionally heavy rains became record-breaking for the past 25 years, causing entire towns to be evacuated. The relentless rain poured for days, and in the midst of the storm, the dam on the Glomma River burst. As a result, a wave of water caused landslides and catastrophic flooding that swept away several houses. The disaster occurred at the beginning of August, but already in July, the monthly rainfall was 300% above the average historical indicators. In the first 10 days, Storm Hans wreaked havoc across Europe, flooding several towns, tearing off roofs of houses, and causing massive destruction. Ironically, these events happened after a series of devastating wildfires across northern Europe. Where was all this water at the beginning of the summer when it was so badly needed? Genoa, an ancient port and the capital of the Liguria region, is the sixth largest city in Italy, stretching along the Italian Riviera. Its trade importance for the Mediterranean is hard to overestimate. It is the busiest port in Italy, and therefore the fury of the water element is extremely unfavorable for it. Storms and flash floods cause enormous damage to the economy of Europe as a whole. Genoa suffered especially badly during a series of floods in 2011. When tropical storms hit the Mediterranean, these shots were taken on November 4th on the streets of the city. We can only be horrified by how powerful the flood can be and be glad that we were in another place. Genoa was not alone in this battle. More than 20 inches of rainfall fell across the lagoon up to Tuscany, and this water quickly engulfed rivers and canals, leading to the flooding of cities. When the water finally receded, the streets of Genoa were left covered with mangled and overturned cars. The bridge over the Pellice stream collapsed, and several people in the port were trapped under the rubble. Everything around was filled with mud and debris, and these shots went around the world, showing how a city can be transformed in a matter of minutes.
This rescue worker says they're doing their best to check drains, etc., so the land can absorb as much water as possible.
In mid-August 2021, Turkey experienced a sudden flood. The small town of Bozkurt, with a population of about 5,000 people, was built around the banks of a river just a few miles from the Black Sea coast. This flood became a powerful chord in a series of disasters that hit the world that summer. Heat waves raged in Italy and Russia. Floods ravaged Belgium and Germany. Not to mention the pandemic that continued to disrupt everyone's plans. Turkish weather stations recorded that around 16 inches of rainfall fell within 48 hours. Additionally, the town is located downstream, making it an easy target for mudslides that rush down the mountains at a furious speed. The embankment managed to hold back the onslaught for a while, but the force of nature proved unstoppable. All this muddy water quickly burst its banks and the river level rose by almost 13 feet. Cars were dragged along the road, ground floor homes were flooded, and the entire town was so thoroughly destroyed that it is impossible to describe. 300 surrounding villages were left without electricity, and a thick layer of mud covered a vast area. The summer of 2023 was unlike any other when it comes to floods in China. Monsoons, typhoons, and torrential rains hit the country. On July 29th, due to the super typhoon Doksuri, a record amount of rainfall fell in 16 provinces, and the highest level of danger was declared. In Beijing, the heaviest rains in the past 140 years were recorded.
The cars parked on the street were floating and got washed away. A couple of vehicles parked behind my apartment disappeared in minutes.
Have you ever seen rain that does not stop for days? It is amazing to watch cars floating down the river like toy ducks in a bathtub. In some shots, it is hard to tell where the river ends and the road begins. More than 60 billion cubic feet of water buried the city's infrastructure. The flood affected at least 1.5 million people, with agricultural land suffering the most. Economic losses exceeded $13.2 billion, making Typhoon Doksuri one of the costliest natural disasters in China's history. Officials stated that it would take a minimum of 2 years to recover, and you do not know where to start such a cleanup. Little Falls, a town in northern New Jersey with just over 13,000 people, is named after a tiny waterfall on the Peckman River. Local residents love to stroll along the waterfront, for which they had to fear in August 2018. Heavy rain hit New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and it did not stop for several days and nights. Roads were flooded, and many drivers were stranded in their cars in the nearby town of Caldwell. In this footage from car dealership owners, we see their money floating away along with new cars.
Holy crap! Oh my God! It's gonna hit! Oh shit! And it's another one coming right behind.
The river plays with them like toy cars. Locals standing on the Route 46 overpass could not believe their eyes. By the end of the show, 16 excellent cars were washed out of the dealership and piled up under the bridge. Chrysler Jeep Dodge overturned and sank, but it was too late to try to save anything. Finally, the storm subsided.
Whoa! Whoa, whoa, look at that! Holy shit, it flipped over! It went under! All the cars from the car lot are coming over!
And tow trucks safely removed the cars, which they even managed to start. But the town was covered in mud and water, and the hearts of car dealers were full of pain. The governor declared a state of emergency in 5 counties as they received a month's worth of rainfall. Moab, a small town in the United States near the Colorado border, is a popular mountain for motorcycle enthusiasts who love to ride on the network of challenging trails near Rock Trail. On July 28, 2021, a severe thunderstorm occurred here. The rain flooded streams flowing from the Colorado River, and water rushed through nearby reservoirs. Traffic on Route 191 was blocked, and a local resident had no choice but to settle near the dried-up riverbed and film this story for us. What you are looking at used to be Dry Creek, flowing from the Colorado River. But the Moab storm brought it back to life surprisingly quickly. The July flood was one of those that happens once in a century. The the humidity was measured at 100%. The likelihood of such an event recurring is only 1%, but ironically, another 100-year flood occurred here about a year later. Fortunately, the expanses of the state allow the river to overflow. It is not as dangerous as the streams on the streets of the town. Mandi, a small Indian town in Himachal Pradesh state, located about 87 miles north of the state capital. With a population of over 26,000 people, it is an effectively developing town, but nevertheless it retains much of its historic charm. Unfortunately, part of this charm was severely damaged in July 2023 when a fierce flood hit the region. India is famous for its heavy rains. They are some of the strongest in the world, and water quickly overflows the riverbanks. Since many towns in this province are built near hills and mountain slopes, they suffer greatly from such landslides. Due to the rains, a whole lake formed on top of the hill, and the city authorities warned everyone that a landslide was inevitable. Therefore, people took shelter on higher ground, simply climbing to the upper floors of buildings, and watched as the streams of mud and debris destroyed their shop on the ground level. Naturally, many goods were ruined. This July day became the rainiest in the past 40 years. The town received about 6 inches of rainfall, and Mandi was not alone among the most affected towns. Wrightwood, a small town in California, lies in the San Bernardino Valley at an altitude of about 9,800 feet above sea level in the San Gabriel Mountains, northeast of Los Angeles. Most local residents in the summer mainly worry about forest fires, but at the end of August 2023, they had to worry for a different reason. Hurricane Hilary of the 4th category was registered in 4 states as one of the wettest tropical cyclones in history. On August 20th, Hilary, meanwhile, landed on the Baja Peninsula in Mexico and headed for Wrightwood. A local resident with children watched as her fun turned into a muddy avalanche rushing down the mountain. A few days before Hilary's arrival, the National Hurricane Center issued the first ever tropical storm warning in Southern California. They predicted that in some areas, more than the annual rainfall could fall, forcing 26 million people in 3 states to experience flooding.
Overnight, millions of Americans under alert as Hilary slams the West.
In general, hurricanes in California are extremely rare. The last time before Hilary, a tropical storm occurred, was in September 1939. The currents and waters here are too cold, and the winds do not favor hurricanes. But, as they say, even an old woman has her slip-ups. One of the most terrifying natural disasters in the Indian Himalayas occurred on February 7, 2021, in the mountainous Chamoli district of Uttarakhand state. As a result of a violent outburst of a glacial lake from the mountains, a powerful accumulation of rocks and ice burst from underground and merged 2 rivers. One of them is a tributary of the Ganges, and along these rivers there are many populated areas. The devastating torrent rushed to the lower settlements, destroying everything in its path. The theory of rapid melting of glacial lakes in the Himalayas was quickly disproven according to satellite images. It became evident that a glacier the size of 15 football fields simply broke off from the mountain and fell into the river systems below, wiping out 5 bridges, cutting off access to 13 villages, and killing dozens of people. This is how our test release turned out. If you liked it and want to see more similar content, let us know in the comments. Be sure to rate this video with a like or dislike, and subscribe to the Eternity Lab channel, the Laboratory of Infinity.